Oh, so we only do the, got it, if there's only one live before lock. Gotcha, gotcha. Oh, hello, welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB live early. Live before lock, little 4-game action today. Then we got 8 tonight. We'll have a live before lock for that. NBA live before lock, game 3 of the finals. A lot going on today. It's about to get real quiet, you know, after these finals are over, but it's okay. You know what the cool thing was, by the way, I'm Dave Loughran. That's Matt Belman hanging out with me today. What's cool, Matt, is that for everyone that like loves playing MLB DFS, at least we know that once NBA is over, because we've already seen this on the non-NBA days, the MLB prize pools actually look pretty nice.
Yeah, as opposed to today where they don't. Like,
right, they just tank them anytime there's a basketball game.
I was looking at the early slate prize pools and I was like, man, like what is up? Like this is a 4-game slate. And then I realized it was NBA today. So it makes sense. Man, I almost feel like because of how many days off in the finals there are, like between games, it's exciting when the games happen, but like the beginning of the NBA playoffs is really where it's at.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Same thing from a betting angle, like a betting perspective, like all, cause our tools on Odd Shopper, I was just going in when you had those 3 or 4 game slates, I was going in and just spamming every plus EV bet that we had on the board and crushed.
There's just so many more.
Yeah. Oh, dude, my ROI on NBA over the final like month of the season plus the first 2 rounds of the playoffs was absurd. Just using the tools, because there's more uncertainty in the market. So then you're going to be pulling those great odds. And, you know, I think even like the sharp sports books are sharper in that respect, but yeah, it's different once you get to the finals, definitely later into the finals as well. Like hell, I mean, how hard was it to project that Boston Pacers series the first couple of games? It was wild. And then Halliburton goes down and everything kind of got out of control anyway. But yeah, man, we got 4 games to talk about. And a couple pitchers up top clearly popping in all of the tools. Not surprised by that. I think we all expected to see this. Once, if you guys haven't looked at the slate yet, you'll understand in a moment. But if you don't mind, take 1 single second, atone for your sins here. Live before lock action, heading into the 1 p.m. games. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Goes a very long way. Like if you're hanging out, you enjoy watching these shows, hitting that subscribe button helps us a ton. It helps us a ton. So appreciate you guys in advance for doing that. Let's dive into it. So, I mean, look, Pablo Lopez, this is where we have to start. Going up against Colorado. I mean, hell, even Louis Varland yesterday, a dude that has just been terrible, ended up going 5 innings with 1 hit. This shit was insane. Pablo Lopez hasn't been good this year. Now, he's had some good starts. He's had some very good starts. But as a whole, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, and I can pull it up, I think he's got like a 5.5 ERA.
That he does.
Who would have thought? But he also, I mean, he also still has a really high ceiling for a pitcher. And you're going up against just a terrible, terrible Colorado offense. I assume we have the lineup. Is Diaz out of the lineup again for Colorado?
Yes, he is.
I would think he is. So, like, he's been their best hitter, one of their best hitters, which doesn't say much. But how about the fact that Pablo Lopez has a 3.18 xERA, a 3.42 xFIP? Like, this guy's actually been pretty unlucky when you look at some of the underlying numbers. I just don't really understand how you can comfortably get away from him today.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really good, I would say, as far as his underlying numbers go. Maybe not as good as the Lopez we've come to know in years past, but man, I think that he's just been getting extremely unlucky, as you mentioned. The spots that he has struggled in were tough spots. 2 against the Yankees, Texas, who has been underwhelming, but still has a good lineup. You know, we know Washington is pesky, obviously not a great lineup there, but twice against the Yankees. He was really good against Houston in the middle of all that. You know, has really good starts against other good teams at Baltimore, for instance. He's too cheap for this spot. Like, weather was my only concern here because storms are kind of popping up in Minnesota throughout the day, but just looked at an update and saw that it's probably not a concern. So with that being said, at 8,500 in this spot, I don't see how you get away from him. I'm with you.
Jake DeWitt said plenty of time to eat, feed the kid, and get him down for a nap and build lineups. Jake, is there any better feeling than when you get the kids down for a nap and you're like, all right, I have a 2-hour window. 2-hour, you know how it works, Matt. You get that little window to do as you please. Plus, for the early slate, Jake, yeah, you're in good shape. But now, look, the only reason I'm not super concerned about the weather is because it's the first game on the slate.
Yeah, for sure. I guess just with pitchers, it's just like, is a delay possible?
For sure.
All that. You know, I'm with you though. Like, I'm not concerned about it anymore. So I think Lopez is good to go.
I think we should be okay. If anything, maybe a delay, but it looks like we should be pretty fine. Looks like we should be all right, honestly. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm not fading anything from this game. So make your own call, but I'm not going to be avoiding this game. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm with you. What I'm really interested to see what you're doing is with King and whether spending up at both pitchers is the best route or potentially just getting weird at SP2. I think Lopez really stands out just because of the price. He's got a much longer track record than King of being an actual good pitcher. King is a hard nut to crack. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get from him on a start-to-start basis. Kind of like Blake Snell in that it almost doesn't matter what the matchup is. If he has his A stuff, he can dominate anyone like he did against the Dodgers. If he doesn't, he can get hit around like he did against, I can't even remember if it was the Rockies or Marlins that did on that 1 day slate. So I think Lopez is a lot safer. Interested to hear your thoughts on King.
Yeah, well, I'll give him to you. So when it comes to Michael King, because I agree, it's a tough one to kind of figure out. He's coughing up 1.5 home runs per 9. Power has actually been a bit of an issue for him, which is always interesting against Oakland because they kind of just survive on power. But he also just has such electric strikeout stuff that I'm not really sure I care. Like, I'll try and put this in perspective, give you my thoughts. He has a 30% K rate against righties. What's his K rate against lefties? It's got to still be, like what, low to mid 20s, maybe better. Probably low 20s. It's 20%. But you're also talking about an Oakland team that, who are you really worried about? Like, are you worried about usually the lefties or the righties? For me, it's usually the righties. Like Langalier's the power coming from there. Rooker from a power perspective. I'm not saying any of these guys are scary, but they're probably going to have 6 righties in the lineup. They're also one of the worst teams away from Oakland, which is weird. Highest strikeout rate in baseball on the road. And also third highest strikeout rate in baseball versus righties. So there are a lot of aspects here that I do like for Michael King. And while I don't disagree with you that, like, yeah, okay, he's expensive. He's more expensive than Lopez. He's more expensive than Webb, as he should be. To me, I'm willing to take my lumps if he has one of those odd blow up performances where he got tuned up by the Dodgers, he got crushed by Colorado. I get all of that, twice by Colorado. I think the upside's too significant in this spot.
I'm with you. For me, it just comes down to, if you play King and Lopez, you're obviously hamstrung in terms of what you can do offensively. So that's the only thing about this slate and why I'm interested in just getting weird at SB2, is because I personally think Lopez looks better than King. He's cheaper, better spot in my opinion. He's the better pitcher. So I like Lopez over King. So establishing that, just spending up on King also makes sense here. Maybe it does. Like, I certainly think that he looks better than Webb, Valdez, Bassett, but the 3 bottom guys, like, and I know we see this a lot on these smaller slates, Harris, Myers, and Gomber, like, they're getting absolutely no love. And on slates this size, I at least think you need to look at guys like that.
I do too. Well, here's the thing. My 2 highest exposed pitchers right now, I just ran it through the Stochastic Sims tool, are Lopez and King at 45 and 40% respectively. So if you do the basic math in your head, that means that I still have a decent amount of exposure going to other pitchers.
And I'm also wondering, like, how much is it King and Lopez together?
Oh, let's see. Jordan, assuming you ran the Sims, pull it up and we can sort by these guys and see how much of that we have. My guess is not a lot. Because if it's 40, if it's around 40% of both, I would think that we're not going to have that many. Let's see. If I go in the lineups, I can just filter by player twice. And then, all right, so King, and then add filter. Pablo Lopez. Okay, so I have 150 lineups starred. Do you want to take a guess how many have King and Lopez together?
Probably 15.
4.
Wow. Okay. It's way lower than I thought. Okay.
So what that means is essentially I've got 90% of lineups with one of them.
Yeah. Interesting.
And what, like 2% of lineups with both of them?
Yeah. So spending up on both doesn't seem to be the optimal move. And it doesn't really seem like there's a really preferred preference between King and Lopez. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I actually think they're pretty equal, close enough. Let's see how we have them projected. Hold on. I'll tell you right now how we have them projected. We have Lopez projected for 20.2 and King projected for 19.6. So there's a little pricing gap there, but still very close. Very close.
Very, very close. I mean, a difference that's almost negligible, you know?
I think so, especially on a 4-gamer. I'm getting some Tobias Myers too.
I knew you were going to be getting to him because he's just popping in the top pitcher tool. I mean, he's got a 16% chance of being a top 2 pitcher on this slate, 4% ownership, 30% chance of being a top value pitcher today. So yeah, Myers definitely in play. He's not good, but he's not awful. And the Blue Jays running out a very watered down lineup today. No Guerrero, no Danny Jansen. So I see pass for him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is a watered down lineup for sure. For sure. They just made a trade with the Dodgers too.
Yeah, they had DFA'd Biggio like a few days ago. So I know he's going to turn into an all-star in the Dodgers.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I mean, look, he was having a terrible year. Terrible year. But now they're just going to, he's not going to be an everyday starter, right?
No way.
Like he would just be a platoon guy that comes in that starts like once every 7 games.
Yeah, I don't even know about like his options and all that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's like in the minors.
They just keep him there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's not like Gavin Lux has been amazing, but I would expect them to want to give Lux every opportunity before they went to someone like Biggio.
But ultimately, like Myers isn't that good, but he's at that price point. I think there's enough there at 6K to make it at least viable on a slate like this. Because you can already see getting to, you said it right at the top, like the Lopez King lineups, at least from the Sims, do not grade out well. The Sim results aren't good. And it's so funny because you and I ran into this exact same
scenario. Oh my
God,
I was just about to say that. Go ahead with Ragans and Skubal. Go ahead.
Yes, with Cole Ragans and Skubal on a 4-game day slate. And we're like, man, we're not getting any lineups with the two of them. I think we had like 3 maybe. And it ended up being that you did not want them together at the end of the day at all. Like the last thing you wanted when all the dust settled was to have Ragans and Skubal in the same lineup. So I trust the Sims. I trust these results. That when you look at these lineups, it doesn't make the most sense. So I totally get it. And, you know, right now, when I look at Tobias Myers, the fact that his value is where it is and his leverage is where it is, it's not surprising that I'm getting some. Dude, I'm also getting Hogan Harris. Hogan Harris was a day slate. Remember someone messaged us on YouTube and was like, why am I getting so much Hogan Harris in the Sims? This is a 3-game day slate. He's like, why am I getting so much Hogan Harris in the Sims? And I think Hogan Harris ended up being the highest scoring pitcher on that slate. It was against Tampa. So
yeah, he was.
I have 26% Hogan Harris, 37% Tobias Myers. Right now, what the tools are saying is that you want to get Lopez, you want to get King, but building with both of them makes less sense than building with one of them and then playing in a more inexpensive pitcher as a pairing on DraftKings.
It's also telling you really that you don't really want to spend down on both pitchers. Like you want one of King or Lopez and you want a cheaper guy. The only difference, and you took the words right out of my mouth. We're on the same exact page, lockstep here about the Reagan Skubal thing. The one difference, and I remember that slate, that was the slate that Mike Lawrence took down like the single entry.
Yeah.
The Sims were really pushing out Reagans over Skubal. Now they were definitely giving Skubal also, but I kind of wish it was like that today, you know, where like it was Lopez or it was King. It just seems like it's one or the other here, which does make it a little more tricky.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things too is that like their ownership is almost identical. Their price is very similar. Top two pitcher probability is similar. Top value is very similar. Yeah, price is similar. Even look at the leverage. Like everything they really do. If you were to just not see their names and just look at the numbers, you would come away with saying, hey, this looks pretty much like the same pitcher today.
Yeah, I mean, man, I just can't get over like 8,500 for Lopez against the Rockies at home. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not playing Lopez here, you're never playing Lopez. And I get it. Like, it's all in the context of the slate. So you might not be playing Lopez like the proverbial you, not because he's a bad play, but just because of ownership, etc. But man, I just think he looks so good in this spot. I mean, everyone will, but it is really interesting that even though the Sims clearly likes King and Lopez the best, they're not giving you any together.
I know. Which I'm okay with that. I think what we need to do check like what do the stacks look like then?
Right, because building just seems probably too prohibitive playing both of them.
Like Minnesota, are there any? You know, it's funny that we weren't getting that much too. I thought maybe this would be one of those days where there were because there aren't that many expensive stacks. You have no Dodgers, you have no Yankees, you have no Phillies, you have no Astros. Like, are there any wildly expensive stacks? I suppose San Diego is kind of expensive. The Oakland A's got a few guys above 4K, but that's not prohibitive. San Francisco against Valdez. Sorry. Houston is on this slate. So yeah, Houston, kind of expensive, but not really. Like with no Tucker, you have Alvarez and Altuve.
You take out like the most expensive player in the pool, all of a sudden Houston's not as expensive. Go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
No, yeah, Toronto, Milwaukee. It's funny because the pricing is clearly adjusted for the slate when you look at this, but none of these teams are like five guys in the 5K area.
No, that is why I think a lot of lineups are going to be King and Lopez, just pairing them together with a bunch of cheap bats all over. Not even cheap bats, but just mediocre, like medium price stacks. It does make like using a Lopez or King and a cheaper pitcher just open up much more of the player pool. And there are expensive bats to get to, even though there aren't musts like Houston against Webb or Milwaukee against Bassett. Like there are some expensive bats that could end up breaking a small slate like this.
You know, what's pretty funny too, is that I actually have, I have Rockies stacks and Oakland stacks today. Now it's starting to make sense. Now it's all starting to make sense. You get these 4-game slates. What's the stack on it? Let me pull the top stack tool up.
Those are really like the only two offenses coming in quote unquote under owned.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
essentially unowned, really. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto's really popular. I'm getting Myers. San Diego's pretty popular. Minnesota, Milwaukee, all of those spots are popular, particularly Toronto against Myers, San Diego against Harris, Minnesota against Austin Gomber. So you've got San Diego and Minnesota going up against two lefties. I can see why that looks pretty good on paper and why people want to get to those spots.
Yeah, agreed. San Diego actually has not been good against lefties this year, but obviously they've got a ton of pedigree. We know who the Padres are. So yeah, I definitely don't want to play like crazy popular Blue Jays, especially because it's going to be Toronto, King, and Lopez. Like that's just going to be the build. And that projects the best, but I don't know if I really want to play it. I think that's just a clear lineup build and it's going to be really, really popular. Do you agree?
Yes. Here, we can put it in perspective. They have among the 1 through 6 hitters, you have a 3K bat and two $2,900 bats, a 3,800 a 44 and a 4,500. They're dirt cheap as a stack. That's going to be so popular.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you talk about like in the large field, like in the flagship $15, everyone will be played because it's the $15. But in like the 121 or 555, I think that the ownership is going to be just even more condensed, and looking at potentially more expensive offenses or bats from those teams in non-ideal spots is at least in play here. I mean, maybe it doesn't end up working out, but I think you're getting huge ownership advantages playing like that.
Dude, they're chalky. I'm looking at individual ownership on these guys, and we've got 6 of them above 20% on.
Yeah.
Seven above 16.
Mm-hmm. Especially with no Guerrero, they're even cheaper now.
Right. Where's the best value for stacking that today? I mean, clearly Toronto, but aside from that, we have Minnesota. What do you make of some of the lower owned stacks? So like Minnesota, Toronto, San Diego, Milwaukee, all of them getting ownership. Houston, San Fran, Oakland, and Colorado, all in the single digits. Does anything stand out to you there?
Yeah, Houston and San Fran, like that game stands out to me from both sides. Neither pitcher is getting an overwhelming amount of love, relative to the other pitchers on this slate that are, and neither offense is getting a lot of love. We know Valdez is a huge ground ball guy, but he's not impervious to getting hit. He's got blown up a couple times this year already. San Fran has a bunch of righty power, and this ballpark plays a lot better during the day. You flip it around to Houston, no Tucker stinks, makes them cheaper. It doesn't really matter on a slate like this, but you've still got Alvarez, Altuve. Like, I don't really want to stack the Astros, but I think picking bats is wildly in play. Webb is a tricky one for me because I really respect him as a pitcher. He's always been much better at home. Makes sense. Great ballpark, etc. But he has not been great this year. His underlying numbers, he's almost like the opposite of Pablo Lopez. I think negative regression is coming for him. And that's a bad spot to be facing Houston. Even in this ballpark, their opportunity cost isn't nearly as high as it would be like on a slate like last night where you've got 11 other games. Here you've only got 3 other games. So yeah, I think both sides of the Houston San Fran game stand out to me from an ownership perspective after already talking about, the Rockies and A's who are just getting no love.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a question. What do you think of Tobias Myers' 3.5 strikeouts from Welly? Well, we can look at this now. You could take a look at this team versus righties. Are there strikeouts? Because it's not generally a team that's going to strike out a lot, but Snyder 24%, Varsho at 28%. So like the 2 highest strikeout guys are Biggio and Kiermaier, but you're not getting them, right? So Vogelbach 21%. It's still not really a high strike, even with the lineup looking different. Like Vlad's not in there, but I don't know how much of a difference it makes.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not like Vlad has been amazing, but this whole lineup is underwhelmed as a whole. So to take him out definitely makes them less appealing for me. The ownership is going to stay the same because it just makes them cheaper. I will say, like in the contest I was speaking of before, like higher dollar single entry stuff, I think the bottom of the Toronto lineup goes fairly unowned, and they're not very good, but it's the same spot the top of the lineup is. And quite frankly, the top of the lineup isn't great either. So if you're dead set on playing some Toronto, I think I'd mix in a couple of the bottom order guys.
I'm pulling Tobias Myers up on OddsShopper real quick just to see if there's any plus EV spots here. Over 3.5 strikeouts is pretty neutral. I mean, it's minus EV. FanDuel has the best odds at -106. We have the true odds at -101, but I mean, Pinnacle's got over 3.5 at minus 139. Few others at minus 130. I honestly almost feel like I would rather take Tobias Myers' total pitching outs over, because it's a very watered down lineup. A lot of these guys, like Horwitz, only doesn't strike out a ton, but I mean, this is no, stud. Tobias Myers 15.5 outs actually looks pretty good. His last start, he threw 8 innings on 100 pitches, Matt.
Yeah. The other thing about this is Toronto is and has been a perpetually low strikeout team. They put the ball in play. So yeah, I kind of like your side more as well.
Yeah. Plus you're getting it at plus money too. Plus 112 on FanDuel. I might actually bet that right now.
Now I will say they kind of go hand in hand to me. Like if he gets one, I kind of expect him to get the other, if he goes over 5 innings, I think he manages to walk his way into 4Ks, but I do like your side better if I had to choose one.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think there's reasons to consider both, but just the fact that this is such a watered down lineup, but also doesn't have KJ, you could probably get there in both of them. I really don't hate Myers today though. I don't. Very little ownership. Just, dude, look at the ownership on Lopez and King. How many lineups, like how much of the field do you think just plays Lopez and King together, if you had to guess?
In the $15, like maybe 45%, 50%. In higher entry stuff, like 70% play them together. I really think so.
Really?
Maybe that's too high, but I could see. I think Lopez comes in 75%. King comes in like 65%. So yeah, maybe I was too generous with both those numbers, but above 50 and higher dollar and maybe 40 and lower dollar.
Either way, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I could be totally off too. I'm just coming off those numbers off the top of my head.
Do you like Webb or Valdez?
I only like them in the sense that they're not going to be they're not going to be owned compared to Lopez and King. Both those guys are very good pitchers. I mean, Webb and Valdez are really good, if not elite starting pitchers. So whenever you've got situations like this where the offenses aren't generating a lot of ownership and neither are the pitchers, I think that the field recognizes that both sides are good. So they're just staying away from everything, but both sides also still have upside. So yeah, I think I like the offenses a little bit more, but the same logic applies to the pitchers in my mind.
We had a couple questions too. We can hit on these. David, is King and Lopez together more in play for cash games than GPPs? Yeah, for sure.
Play them together in cash.
Because it doesn't matter how many people are doing it. Jason Gordon, why is Valdez low owned? He just had a good outing, 37 points last game, looked really good. Yeah, no doubt about it. A complete game, right? He had a complete game last time out.
He did.
I think that the thing about Valdez is probably just that, like, while he did have 8 Ks in that game, he's just not as good of a strikeout pitcher. It's a good park, don't get me wrong, but it's not as good a matchup either. It's not nearly as good a matchup. I'm not saying the Giants are world beaters, don't get me wrong. But when you're talking about the Giants, with Valdez on the road, they still have like a 4-run total, so it's still pretty low. But comparatively, when you look at Colorado on the road in Minnesota and then Oakland against King, I think that's really what it comes down to. But yes, there's no denying that Framber Valdez with that ownership I think it's probably appropriate. He's getting almost, now that I look at it, he's getting almost 30% ownership. It's not like he's unowned or even low owned for that matter.
Right. I was kind of just speaking on the contest, like the single entry stuff where I do expect his ownership to be lower, but I'm with you. Like Webb and Valdez, are only low owned in the sense that they're not as high owned as King and Lopez, but you're not like sneaking up on the field by rostering these guys. So we see
Right. No,
this
like
very similarly.
I agree with you. I'm saying he still profiles as a perfectly reasonable play. Like I have around 20% Valdez right now. It's not like I'm not getting any.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
just King and Lopez look better. Also, if I'm getting a lot of King and Lopez, I'm naturally not going to get a ton of Valdez or Webb. I actually have 17% of both. You're not, because I have Tobias Myers and Harris as those cheap 6K options. Like the guy I'm getting essentially none of is Austin Gomber, but I even have 13% Bassett. So of the 8 pitchers going, I have 13+% exposure to 7 of them.
Yeah, it makes sense on a slate like this. Not shocked by that at all. I
You have
almost feel like, just sorry, real quick. I almost feel like with Webb and Valdez, they're just too closely priced to King and Lopez. And
Exactly.
those guys just look a lot better. So the only reason you're playing Webb or Valdez is because of the ownership, but the ownership's already like kind of there. So I'm with you. Like, I just feel like they're not great plays today.
Yeah, you're not playing Logan Webb because of the matchup.
No, you're only playing him because he's good and he's lower owned than King and Lopez because he's in by far the worst spot, but he's owned. So like, you know, if you were 15% owned, I think it'd be more of a question. And if he ends up that, then maybe this, was worth, whatever it is. If he ends up that, then he ends up that. But the way we're projecting it, he's owned appropriately.
And he has a 20% K rate this year. Like, Lopez is at 26. King is right below 26. That makes a difference for sure.
100%.
Do we have the Astros lineup yet? Or are we still waiting on that? I think we're still waiting on it. Yeah. We only have 4 lineups right now, don't we? Oh, you've been muted this whole time. I was wondering why you weren't responding to any of my questions.
It's my fault.
You're good.
So yeah, I guess all the late games or both late games, excuse me, we don't have lineups for. Yeah, you just get that on slates like this. So it is what it is, I guess.
Jake DeWitt, any of the projected lineups yet to be released that you think might be wrong or any glaring outliers? So I'm actually glad you asked this question. And most sites are just going to project what they think it should be. Obviously, like if they're a decent enough site, they'll give you the guys, with the platoon splits that'll come in, or with the platoon advantage that'll come in and start against the lefty or only start against the righty. Here is your outlier, Jake. And this is probably like information that's not even helpful to you, but I think the question was interesting. When you've got teams coming off a Tuesday where everyone plays and most of them play at night, and now 8 of them have day games, these are the type of times where you see wildly different lineups with guys getting rest days. Night games to day games, back-to-back days. You look at Toronto giving a couple guys off. This does happen. So I would not be surprised to see more watered down lineups as a result.
I would expect it. I mean, whether it's just the catcher position or more, I would expect lineups to be a little weird, whatever the case may be. 100% with you there.
The problem is it's not really actionable until we know. Like, Jake, I don't know if you were referring from a betting perspective, trying to get an angle on something like that, which is interesting. It's just tough to be able to guess that stuff and who it's going to be. Unless I suppose you could go back and look, but who knows? Maybe they run a rotation for guys that get rest days. Either way, for all we know, Michael King might look better. Actually, you can't make that lineup much worse for Oakland, but like Hogan Harris might look better. Some of these guys just might end up looking better depending on what the lineups, because Tobias Myers, to the point you made earlier, looks markedly better now than he would have when we just had the projected lineup for Toronto.
He does. Yeah, and I think we'll, I don't know if we'll see someone like Vlad be out, but we could. Maybe Yordan Alvarez gets the day off today. All of a sudden, you've got no Tucker or Alvarez for Houston. Logan Webb, in that case, might actually look good. So we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know if I'm expecting something like that, but definitely catchers. Like whoever caught yesterday is probably not catching today.
Right. Hey, by the way, guys, US Open tomorrow. Big PGA action, Millie Maker, massive, massive contest across the board, not just the Millie Maker, like insane contests. I said it to Josh yesterday. They love going big for PGA and always shit on us in the MLB streets. But as a result, we've got something great for you. If you're looking to get in and you haven't tried it out yet, first week of PGA Sims Max, $14.95, less than $15. That's getting you everything, right? The Sims tool, the post-contest Sims, you name it, right? Oh, Showdown, Sims for all of the 4 Showdown days. Not only that, but ownership, top golfers tool, player projections, everything across the board, plus premium Discord, everything on the PGA side for less than $15 for the first week. And it's not like, oh, I get to use it for one lineup. No. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you can use all of our tools. We have Showdown projections, ownership, Sims Showdown, all of that, everything. They have 2 Millie Makers coming up. They have the Drive the Green, $5 entry, 600K on DraftKings, 100K up top. Another 100K up top. Single entry, right in your wheelhouse, Matt. 50K up top, single entry. 20K up top, single. And this is 200K to first. In the it's amazing what they do for these. Truly incredible. So if you're looking to get in and you're wanting to build good lineups, but you want to do it the right way, link in the description and in chat. You don't need to use the promo code. It'll auto load for you. So if you just click the link, Jordan just threw it in the chat. And it's in the description as well. Jake said, yeah, PJ Minimax has 60K prizes, 6K up top. The showdowns will be like 100K up top every day. You want to get in and use the right tools to make some profit. That's the way to do it. And given the size of these prizes, you don't have to play a lot to justify $15, less than $15 for the entirety of the week. We're also giving away 3 Sims packages, PGA Sims packages for the entirety of the month. So if you're already a Sims PGA user, or you check out and you want to use the promo and get this promo, if you're rocking the avatar and you have any win of $100 or more, just tweet us your win. And you got a shot to win a free month of it as well, which makes a lot of sense. I don't think there's going to be that many of them. Go to stochastic.com/Hall of Fame, download the avatar and throw that up there if you're trying to throw your hat in the ring. Also, just give your, I forgot to mention, super happy to see this, man. The second place in the Mega Mini Max yesterday for 5K, Matt, was a Stochastic avatar, but one of the brand new ones. So I'm seeing them in circulation. I'm seeing them in circulation now, and it makes me very happy. I gotta say.
That is awesome.
It's good stuff. Doug said, wish those pools were MLB. Yeah. I mean, look, the truth is, whenever you're getting like big tournaments like this for golf, big events, even NFL, like the main slate is once a week. With NBA and PGA, you're never going to get that. But all I ask for in the summer, just give us daily 100K on the Mega Mini Max, and then some, because you already know the relay throw is going to have good prize pools. Give big one on the Mega Mini Max. Give us some nice single entry stuff. Like, why can't we make the $12, the $44 single entry, the 121? They would fill if you put them like 20K to first, at least some of them, not all of them, but they would fill.
Oh, totally. So with you. You're preaching to the choir here for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a long season for baseball, for basketball. Just give us decent prize pools. I'll be happy. Anyway, check it out. Link in the description and chat. We'd love to come say hi in Discord as well. Hit us up. Let us know you're there. Use the tools, win some money. Any other stacks, bats, individual bats, pitchers we haven't talked about yet?
Not really. I mean, I think we talked about everyone. Houston, I just want to emphasize again, like presuming they put out a relatively normal lineup, they're going to be really low owned in my eyes. And again, they're always in play. One of maybe the best offense on this slate, just in terms of overall talent. So shout them out, but I think we pretty much covered everything well.
Let's throw some homer picks into the ring. What do you say?
Let's ride.
I'll even give you a second to look up anybody that you're trying to find. No issues with that. Kind of an interesting one because they're mostly good pitchers, but not entirely good pitchers. I think we also just got a lineup. Hold on. Nope, never mind. That was something else. So, all right. Do you have anybody that jumps out at you right away?
The one guy that jumps out at me is William Contreras. Just, I don't know, no particular reason. He's really good. He's expensive at catcher. I think he might be a little bit lower owned than he should be because of that. Hitting second against Bassett. Give me William Contreras.
Okay. Batting second, the righty-righty matchup. Bassett has given up some power. I dig it. You know, it's funny because Austin Gomber, even though he's pitching at Coors, only a 168 X ISO to righties, 264 X ISO to lefties. But I mean, how much? I always have those. I always worry a little bit that that's kind of like I wonder what the sample is against lefties this year. I bet it's not even. I bet it's not much. Like how many lefties has he faced this year? Of course, Fangraphs is freezing up on me. There's no way, because you very rarely see, again, dude, he's faced 57 lefties. That's hardly anything, right? Doesn't matter anyway.
Lineup,
you got a full you look at a lineup like for Minnesota anyway, but
it's exactly what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. Bad Park in San Francisco. I don't love that. Give me, this is a tough day to be pulling homer. Give me Tatis.
Yeah, respect that. He's been on fire and he's really good.
And he's got the platoon advantage. I like Fernando Tatis here actually quite a bit. 275, or I'm sorry, only a 174 X ISO against lefties, but I don't care. I don't care. 372 X WOBA. I mean, do we really think that Tatis is just going to suck against lefties?
No. How could you?
He had a 261 X ISO, 227 ISO versus lefties last year. Yeah, give me Fernando, assuming he's in the lineup, against Hogan Harris. I have one more question for you before we go. Hogan Harris, he's been actually decent, particularly over his last 3 outings. What do you think this guy actually is?
I think it's too early to say. For me, like, and again, his actual numbers are good. 221 ERA, 286 WOBA, but his 458 expected and 338 expected WOBA aren't good. And again, like, the Padres haven't been great against left-handed pitching this year, so that might be reason to not play the Padres. But as far as cheap pitchers go, I do prefer Myers over Harris. I think it's an easier spot. He's at home. He's cheaper. So I don't think Harris is a bad play because he's not getting any love, but I do prefer Myers down there.
If you had to give me your, let's say, 3 favorite stacks, 3 favorite pitchers, pitching's easy. I mean, you're going Lopez and King. Third, I'm going to go Myers because of that price point. Of course,
Same.
I could just do you no favors and go, oh, I think it's, Pablo Lopez, King, and then Framber Valdez, and also Logan Webb. But like, do you have a third down there that, if you had to pick of the guys not getting a lot of love?
It's Myers. He's the cheapest. And then the best spot between the cheap guys. So yeah, I think it's just by default Myers for me.
3 favorite stacks?
I'm going to go with I think every stack is in play for one reason or another. I'm going to go with the Giants. Expect them to be very low owned. I'm going to go with the Brewers. They're the lowest owned of like the best stacks on the board. And then I'll go with the Twins. I think Gomber is better than people think he is, but that doesn't mean he's good. So, I think there's reasons to not play the Twins here because Gomber is a little bit better than advertised, but at the end of the day, the Twins aren't a good spot.
Man, just looking at the odd shopper tool, the market-based tool, we have a good amount of under RBI and under total base props for Toronto popping right now. A good amount of those. Now, what it means is just compared to the book that it's at, the Sharp Sports, compared to the Sharp Sports books, we're getting good value elsewhere. Like Snyder total bases under 1.5. DraftKings has it -120. We have the true odds at -136. That's a massive edge there. And the dinger, dude, we do Dinger Tuesday every single Tuesday. If any of our home run picks, we do like 6 or 7 of us. If any of them hit, we do Odd Shopper Premium, all of the tools, including the Discord, for $1 for the entire week. Link in the description for that. And guess what? 3 of them hit yesterday. Ben and Isaiah, I get what you guys are doing. We're trying to do something for the people, going with like Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. They hit. Great. Good for you guys. But our boy Josh went with Toro leading off. First pitch of the game, plus 1,000, 10-1. Now we won't hear Josh shut the fuck up about this for a month. However, what that did was get us Odd Shopper Premium for $1. And that is open until probably like, 10 p.m.? So you got 9 hours to take advantage. Jump in, check out the tools. Guys, if you've been wondering about it, it's $1 for the entire week. Link in the description. Dude, I'm telling you, you will not have more fun in the Discord and using the tools, using our results tool. Well, now you have autonomy to find all of the plus EV bets that perform well or poorly at a certain time frame, a certain sports book, a certain prop. You're gonna get sucked into this. I'm telling you, it's awesome. But $1 for the entirety of the week. You got about 9 hours on that. Give me top stacks for today. Early slate, live before lock coming up. Normal time for the 8-game main slate. Not Toronto, I'll tell you that much. Give me Matt.
No.
What's that?
No, I was just going to say definitely not Toronto.
No, they're going to end up going nuts.
Of course.
But I don't really care. I can live with that water. Minnesota, Milwaukee, and San Diego. Yeah.
I'm only going to throw the Giants in there for me instead of San Diego. Just ownership. That's it.
Love it. Hey, appreciate you guys. Good luck today. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. We'll catch you back here live before live baseball, live before live basketball, and then everything live on the playback show after hanging out, watching the game 3 of the finals. Hopefully you guys join us. It's totally free. So if you'd like to and you're not doing anything, you know where to find us. Anyway, have a great rest of the day, guys. We'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.